Hey friends, welcome! We are going to be focusing on some meal prepping tonight here at Tastefully Simple, so I'm glad that you've joined us. If you were invited by a consultant, that's wonderful. Give them a shout out in the comment section. Just go ahead and tag your consultant right down in the comment section there. And if your consultant provided a link for you tonight to shop from, be sure that you use that link. And if you don't have a consultant, no worries. You can visit us at tastefullysimple.com because I'm going to be featuring tonight one of our brand new meal kits. It's a 5-meal kit called Freezer to Oven. And what I love about it is that all of it's 5 recipes that you make ahead, you put them in the freezer, and then when you're ready to cook them, they go directly from the freezer to your oven. No thawing required. So as we go tonight, I'm going to show you a couple of the recipes from that kit. I am going to talk to you a little bit about some meal prepping tips and hints just to help you get started, get it rocking and rolling in your world if you haven't done that already. So I'm going to go ahead and get one of our recipes started here because the chicken is going to need to cook for a few minutes. So what I'm going to show you is our Mama's Creamy Chicken Penne Bake. And again, it comes from this freezer to oven meal kit that we have. If you want to show them that, Jason, it comes with 5 of our seasoning blends, so it's a great value. You also get a jar of our very popular honey teriyaki sauce. And then, of course, it comes with that beautiful recipe booklet with the recipes. Everything has a full color photo in it. It's got nutritional information, everything you need. So we're going to go ahead with our chicken penne. So I've got some oil heating in my skillet here. And I'm going to go ahead and pop in some chicken that I've sliced up. This is just boneless, skinless chicken breast. So that's going to go in there. I have some mushrooms that I'm going to put in. And if you are not a mushroom fan, no problem. You could sub in really any other vegetable. Maybe some pepper strips. It's really loud. We'll get this stirring and then I'll talk more. So I've got chicken and mushrooms. Now we're going to season it up. And this is where the magic comes in. I've got some seasoned salt here. And our blend of seasoned salt is all natural. There's no fillers in here. And there's no sugar. A lot of seasoned salts have sugar in it, but ours does not. So that's one of the reasons I love it. I need a half a teaspoon. I'm just going to eyeball that. So I'm going to sprinkle that on. A little bit more. And then I'm going to put in some of our garlic, and the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of that. 1 teaspoon of our garlic is about 1 clove of fresh garlic. So I use this stuff all the time in place of fresh garlic because, I don't know about you, but when I buy fresh garlic, it tends to go bad before I use it all. Plus, I don't like stinky garlic fingers and all the chopping and whatnot that's required. So garlic just makes it easy. So I'm just going to give this a stir, get those seasonings in there, and then this will saute for a few minutes. And while that's happening, I'll tell you a few other things. It smells so good. I think most people, when they're just getting started with cooking, the hard part is getting it to getting that great seasoning blend, and so the garlic and seasoned salt are going to do that for us. All right, so we've got our chicken cooking, and this is going to make a 9x13 pan of chicken penne bake. And so, again, I want you to tag your consultant if you were invited by a consultant, or just give us a shout out in the comment section and let us know where you're from. And again, we've got this freezer to oven kit that features 5 recipes that you can make ahead and freeze. And so my first tip for you, if you're just getting into meal prepping or you're kind of curious about meal prepping, is a lot of people set aside one day, oftentimes it's a Sunday, just to do some meal prepping for the week. And the reason they do that is because it just makes weeknight meals so much simpler. And now that some of us are working from home or teaching kids from home, lunch has come into play too. So that's another reason why it's great to have meals kind of prepped and ready to go on hand. And so my first tip is just embrace it. Set aside a couple of hours on a Sunday afternoon to get some meal prepping done. Use it as me time. Kind of relax into it. And like I said, just embrace it, because it really can be kind of a zen-like moment once you sort of get into it, you get your routine on. A couple of things that I do. I pour myself my favorite mineral water. I've got a sparkling mineral water that I love. I'm going to use Tastefully Simple's meal prep and gear here. We've got this great silicone wine tumbler. Of course, it's perfect for wine. But I'm going to use my sparkling water here. When I go shopping for my meal prepping, I always throw in a lemon or a lime because it makes me feel extra fancy for my little drink. I know it's the little things, right? But it's kind of what I'm talking about, relaxing into it and just embrace it. Have fun with it. Take a couple hours of you time. And cheers, let's get some meal prepping done. Delicious, and it tastes better out of a fancy cup like this one. We also have some additional meal prepping gear in this. We've got a little cutting mat that says "Slice, Slice, Baby" on it. Makes me want to chop something already. And then we've got a recipe binder. You can see this recipe that booklet that comes with our kit is 8.5 by 11 and 3-hole punched. That's going to fit right into our binder, and in fact all of our meal kits do the same, so that you can have your recipes nice and organized. Let me give our chicken a little stir here. So again, if you don't like mushrooms, feel free to sub in some broccoli or some pepper strips, whatever your family enjoys. Our recipes are nothing if not flexible. So this just needs a couple more minutes here. So we're relaxing in. We've got our handy beverage. If I were home by myself right now, I'd put on my favorite playlist and just get some tunes going and have my stuff laid out and ready to rumble here. So I've got here the chicken. Once that gets cooked, I'm going to stir in some of our spinach. I've got some chopped spinach here. I just used a bag of spinach, gave it a rough cut chop, and we're going to toss that in. And then we're going to make a little sauce and mix it all together and throw it in a pan. And so while that's cooking, I'm going to tell you a little bit about these pans. So I mentioned that this makes a 9 by 13. My husband and I are empty nesters, so it's just the two of us, and I'm going to tell you, I don't want a 9 by 13 pan and nothing going on in my house. Because I'm going to have to eat that like 8 times before it's gone. So what I do at our house is, instead of using this 9 by 13 pan, I'm going to use 2 8 by 8 pans. And this is probably a 9 by 6 pan, but whatever. You get the joke. Like, I'm going to make 2 of these. And so frankly, we'll probably eat one of these tonight, and then the other one is going to go in the freezer. Another thing that I do, I've found my inner zen, I'm embracing my meal prepping, and it's also a great way for me to do some random acts of kindness, because I also sometimes give away that other one to a neighbor, or we've got some elderly, lovely church ladies that I sometimes bring food to. It's just a great way to help somebody out if they are cooking for one. There's nothing worse than cooking for one. You end up with all this extra stuff. Or give it to a daughter, a neighbor, a relative, a friend. Share the love. And I even sometimes get these little tiny pans, and this is kind of perfect single serving size. And then I can really spread it out, and I give a number, 3, 4, 5 people a little something, something for them to heat up in the oven one night. So we're gonna do our half-size pan here. And of course we're gonna put some nonstick spray on there, because I nonstick spray everything. And once those are ready, our chicken is looking good here. It's no longer pink, which is what we're going for. And so now I'm going to go ahead and toss in that spinach. Again, I just use one bag. Spinach is kind of a flexible thing. You can put in as much as you have. My grandma used to always say, if we asked her about a recipe, "Grandma, how much does it call for?" And she would respond, "As much as you need." So that's what I love about our recipes also, is that they're pretty darn flexible. So this is going to cook down a lot once we get that stirred in. So I'll do a couple of folds here, and then we'll start making our sauce. We'll give that a stir in a minute. All right, so for our sauce, we are going to take a jar of Alfredo sauce, which I have here. I don't like washing dishes, so my utensil goes everywhere. I'm just going to pop that into my big giant bowl here. You can also just do this right in the pan, but I feel like my pan gets a little sloppy when I do it in there, so I'm going to do it in a big old bowl. but you do you. So into that, we're gonna stir a can of undrained diced tomatoes. Super simple. We like to use the no salt variety just to kind of keep our sodium content down a little bit, but whatever works for you. And then we're gonna stir in some of our Mamma Mia marinara seasoning mix. And this is another one that just brings amazing flavor to your dishes. So this one has, again, it's from our TS Eat Well line of products that's all natural, nothing artificial, and there's no silica in here. And so I sometimes stir that up a little bit. And it calls for a 1/4 cup, and our caps are 2 tablespoons. A 1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons. So I'm going to put in 2 capfuls. And then we'll just give that a little stir. There's 1. Just a stir, and a 2. A 1 and a 2. All right, let's stir up our sauce, and then we'll give our chicken and spinach a little bit of a stir there. And I want to get that off the heat so it cools down a little bit, at least, before I stir it into the sauce. So that's all mixed up. This is going to come off the heat. And this is going to bake, you know, so getting that spinach completely wilted isn't necessary. You just want to get it softened up and shrunk down a little so that you can stir it in nicely. So now we've got that going on. Let's see if we got everything in our sauce here. We need Alfredo sauce in, tomatoes in, Mamma Mia marinara in. Next up, we need some pasta. And so this is another tip that I have for you, because this is pasta that I had cooked and frozen. Whenever I make pasta, I usually make a double batch, and I put half of it in the freezer because it reheats beautifully, especially if you cook it al dente, which means not quite all the way. And I actually cooked this a minute under al dente, because then when I'm going to use it in a recipe again, it doesn't get all mushy. So the recipe called for penne pasta. I had some kind of a pasta twist that I'm going to use instead. And yeah, this was just in the freezer. I put it in a larger bag so that I can flatten it out. Then it lays nice in my freezer and it thaws much faster. So I'm going to go ahead and toss this into my sauce. And we'll give that a stir, and then we'll add our chicken, and then we'll get it into our pans. If you have any questions as we go, feel free to jot those down in the comments section. I'm not going to answer them live tonight, but as soon as we're done, I will go back through them. And so if you have any questions at all, feel free to pop down there. And I don't know where you live, but out here on the prairie in Minnesota, we are suffering from some extremely cold temperatures. So it's kind of nice to be in the kitchen tonight where things are warm and cozy, cooking up some meals with love for my family. So our low for tonight, I think, is about 22 or 25 below. So that's something else I'd love to hear from you. Where are you and what's the temperature? Because I'm going to live vicariously through you guys. You know, there's a little bit of liquid here that I'm just going to drain off. Doesn't all have to come out of there, but I'm going to get a little bit of that. I can see my spinach and my mushrooms have released a little bit of liquid. There we go. All right, so now this is going to go in. We're going to give it a stir, like I said, super simple. There's nothing hard about cooking, really. It's just making the time to do it and having a plan. And so that's another reason why all of our meal kits are so great, because then you have a plan. And if you have a plan, you're eating better, you're eating healthier, you're saving money. All kinds of goodness comes from having a meal plan, and meal prepping just makes all of that easier. So that's all there is to it, friends. We're just going to pop this into our pans now. And in my case, 2 pans. In your case, I don't know how many pans. It's flexible. I'm just going to get this out of the way here. Got 1 and 2. You can see that's a nice hearty meal that we're going to have. I sometimes pop some black olives into this one because I love black olives. And they're delicious in here. So voila, we've got our 2 pans. And now I mixed up a little topping for this. This is optional in the recipe, but I like it, so I'm going to put it on. This is just a blend of some panko crumbs, some Parmesan cheese, and some melted butter. And I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle that on now before it goes into the freezer, because that's going to crisp up as it bakes. And it just adds a little crunchy deliciousness to it. And then we're going to go ahead and get these sealed up for the freezer. And I've got a couple of hints for you with that too. Just get some of these things out of our way here so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put some plastic wrap on here first because air is the enemy. And if I put some plastic wrap on here, that's just going to keep more of that air out than if I were to just put foil on the top. So I'm going to do both foil and plastic. I thought I was going to be so smart and peel these off ahead of time, and they kind of clung to each other. We're getting it. Okay, so when I put this in, I'm actually just going to go ahead and press that right down. Because again, I don't want any air in here, as little air as possible. So if I press that down, it really gets a lot of the air out. And then I'm going to tuck those edges in, and then I'm going to put another sheet right over the top of that and around the edge of the pan. And then I'm going to put the foil on. And I'll show you my trick with that. I write my cooking instructions on my foil, and I do that before I put it on the pan. I'm sure you've tried this. We all have. You put the foil on first, and then you poke your marker right through that foil. So if you write on it first, you don't have that problem. And what I do for these freezer meals is I, of course, put the name of the recipe, but I also put a reminder for myself to remove the plastic wrap, because there's nothing worse than going through the work of freezing this, pulling it out, putting it in your oven, and then realizing, 45 minutes to an hour later that you neglected to pull off the plastic, because that's just sad. So I put a little note to pull the plastic off, and then I put my baking instructions on there. And boom, this is ready for the freezer. Easy peasy, one down. Couldn't be faster. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little quick tidy here. And while I do that, we have a video that we shot for one of the other recipes in this meal kit, this freezer to oven meal kit. And it's for our honey teriyaki chicken and rice bake, which is delicious. So take a look. Again, our honey teriyaki chicken and rice bake is so delicious. That's where you're going to use that bottle of honey teriyaki sauce that comes with the kit. And with, I told you that I had pre-cooked and frozen the pasta for my penne bake. You can do the same thing with rice. In fact, I have a couple of bags of that here where I cooked some extra rice, bagged it up, and it thaws beautifully, especially if you store it flat. It thaws pretty quickly. You can defrost it in the microwave very easily, and then it's recipe ready, and that's just one step that you don't have to do when you're doing your meal prep. So as you think about getting into your own meal prep routine, if you find cooking all of the recipes in full overwhelming, start small, because there are so many things that you can do on your meal prep Sunday that just get you ready for cooking during the week and make things go more smoothly. So as an example, it's pre-cooking that pasta and rice and getting some of that in your freezer. If you don't want to do full recipes, focus on ingredients. So You've got your grains. I also, when I brought this chicken home, I've got this all sliced up and ready to go for another recipe. It's a pound of chicken. I'll label it as such, and then I'll just stick that in the freezer, and then it's recipe ready for me. Same with veggies. You're going to need some great side dishes, and you can do simple salads, simple stir fries, whatever you need, and it just goes so much faster if you've got a bin that's full of vegetables that are clean, chopped, and ready to use. So we talked about the pans and how there's so many different ways to do your prep for a large family, a small family, for singles, for doubles, whatever it is. The recipes are flexible enough to handle that. Sometimes you adjust the bake time a little bit. If I'm going to bake one of these tiny pans here, of course, I'm probably not going to bake that for quite as long as I would a great big 9x13. But that's easy to do. You just watch it. So focus on your ingredients if you don't want to do full recipes. If you want to do full recipes, just set aside some time and make a commitment to getting that done and see how it feels. Try it. Take the 5-meal challenge and get 5 meals into your freezer. See how that feels. And then go visit our website. We have 8 meal kits out in our on our website. And so any one of those are great for meal prepping on Sunday. So you can take a look at those. And of course, if you're going to visit Tastefully Simple online, visit using the link that your consultant gave you. Or if you don't have a consultant, you can find one at tastefullysimple.com. You can check out our great meal prepping gear to help you get in the spirit of things. And of course, we've got all kinds of individual products out there on our website. So with Tastefully Simple, it is so easy to get into the meal prepping mode and start making meals with love for your family. See you next time.